Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. I have here Mr. Borrell, who's the foreign minister appointed of the European Union. Remember, he's the counterpart of Lavrov of Russia, Giarto of Hungary, Dr. Jaishankar of India, Wang Yi of China. Now, Borrell was appointed on that position. He's Spanish. He's a Spanish politician. He was appointed over there not necessarily because he's smart, but because I think he follows orders well. And it seems like I agree with Mr. Borrell's statement that Russia's war in Ukraine is an existential threat to Europe. If I look at Mr. Borrell as being smart and he really cares for Europe. Obviously, that is made probably in the context of, guys, we have to fight Russia because Russia is going to come and invade us as soon as they're done with Ukraine, which there's no evidence, but nevertheless, the baboons won't know it. So I think that's the reason, but that's the reason if Borrell is an asshole and a dumbass. But if Borrell is smart, and I agree with him, Indeed, Russia's war in Ukraine, or the war in Ukraine, is an existential threat for Europe, and I will explain. But let me show you the title of this article from Ukrinform. This is Mr. Borrell. Russia's war on Ukraine, existential threat to Europe, Borrell said. He said that on the 15th of April 2024. Existential threat. And I agree with that. Now let me tell you this little thing before I delve into Mr. Borrell's statement, which I agree if he really means it. Because it is an existential threat. It is, but in a different way. So in any society, any family, any country, any group, the leaders of the group, the country, the family, if they are tyrannical, they will lead easier if they scare their subjects. Like they initiate a little bit of a mental terror, which is we have an enemy over there, and I will protect you. So that's the enemy that I pointed, and I will protect you. But in order to protect you, you need to relinquish, give away some of your, we call them rights, which are just temporary privileges. You need to do that. And in the name of that, I will defend you. Without those extra powers, I cannot defend you well against the enemy that I pointed out to you. Okay? And the population, obviously, under most of the baboons of the population, which are scaredy cat, they don't know better. It's easier. Oh, it's gonna keep me safe. How many do I need? How many should I put on? What should I do? Stay in the basement? Show up outside, 15 minutes a day? Maybe don't show up at all because there will be other people that are going to bring me the groceries. Is that what it is? Yes, the big chunk of the population are cowards. Or is coward. Anyway, so this is the way you do stuff. So in this case, they use Russia, existential threat. We need to infringe some of your things and give some money to some businesses or some, how should I put it, spheres in the economies that take care of your money, your production, and your military. We're going to take from your future and your children's future, your taxes, your revenue, and we're going to give it to these businesses in order to do what? Exactly, to defend you and our way of life. So Mr. Borrell comes and says that is an existential threat. It is, but not because the Russians will come and take over. It's because through the implementation of self-destructive sanctions directed towards Russia, they destroy Europe. That's what I mean. I agree with Mr. Borrell. Europe destroys itself through their own decisions. Borrell, von der Leyen, Michel, and other unelected officials, they agreed to impose sanctions on Russia. Sanctions that hurt Europe, European people, more than they hurt the Russians. So indeed, that's an existential threat because those guys in charge could and will implement more and more sanctions and make all kind of stupid decisions in order to do what? To hurt the enemy, but in the meantime destroying you. Destroying you. Remember, in the name of this protection, the European Union instituted all kind of laws to infringe freedom of speech, what you can say online, what you can type online. They even banned media outlets. The Russians, Sputnik, Russia Today. Why? To protect you. So they decided that you are such a baboon that you should not be allowed and able to access those things unless you do some hanky-panky. No? I don't think it's a ban on that, but still, I covered that in a video earlier, maybe a month ago, when they were claiming that even in Brussels, in the building, whatever building of European Union, they have over their parliament, you can access still Russia Today. And how come? Because it's not allowed to, even over there. So they're trying, but they can't really. Why? The will of the people. So yes, I agree with Mr. Borrell if he thinks we're going to ourselves. Now let's read a little bit the article here and see how he's going to make a claim, obviously, about the Russians coming and enslaving everyone. Russia, full-scale war of aggression against Ukraine, returned territorial threats to Europe and forced the European Union to put defense at the center of its own security policy. Got that? Defense, that's military. Banks, how do they function? Banks, money, how they get the money from your revenues, mostly bankrupt. What I'm talking about? I'm talking about countries. You all are owning to the international banking systems. How come? Who are they? Well, the ongoing war against Ukraine poses an existential threat to the entire European Union. That's according to EU High Representative Josep Borrell, who posted a blog entry on the website with the war of aggression that Russia is waging against Ukraine. We saw the return of territorial rivalries and the use of violent military force in Europe that we had intellectually dismissed. At a time when the American involvement in Europe is being less certain. What do you mean? They brought troops in the new NATO countries. They brought troops in Baltic states. They brought troops in Romania. They brought troops in Poland. What do you mean? They are more than they were before. I guarantee you, they are more than before. They brought troops, installations, more than before. What are you talking about? It's less certain. But this is Borrell. Okay, and it becomes less certain. This war poses an existential threat to the European Union, said the diplomat. Right there. This war poses an existential threat. And I'm quoting, if Putin manages to destroy, well, first, for you, Putin is the president and you are an appointed guy. So from the very beginning, he is in a superior position than you are. You are an appointed foreign minister by others. He's an elected official. To destroy the independence of Ukraine, no, they say they're defending the country from NATO's invasion or maybe NATO's approach. Well, if you don't think so, what's the how do you call it, argument here? That Russia, tries to get territories. What about NATO? NATO moved from where it was to Russia's borders. They didn't take territories like that. They took it differently, by the balls, economic, political. That's the way the arms and military in Germany, and not only. Just European unions say we're not going to do what the Americans tell us to do, or we're not going to join them. First, you're not going to say that, and if you're going to say that in a week, you're going to reverse the little garbage statement. And it says here, the independence of Ukraine, he will not stop there. Okay, why? And he says, if you bring arguments, right? I'm not sold on that one. If he prevails despite clear support for Ukraine by European and US public, this sends a dangerous signal about our capacity to stand up for what we believe in. Josep Borrell. What do you mean we believe in? You guys believe in. They think that we all believe in the same thing. Since when? Then if that's the case, where's the diversity of thought? There's none. So what are you talking about, Borrell? He's an imbecile. And again, he said that he noted that EU faces the need to change the entire paradigm of European defense. The common market and trade have worked well to bring peace between the states. Occupied differently, my friends. They're occupied differently. That are part of the EU. But those tools are no longer enough to guarantee external security. For too long, Europeans have delegated their own security to the US. And that is what? Why would you do that? They didn't do it because they wanted. After the Second World War, the Americans came and never left. And at least for the past 30 years after the fall of the Berlin Wall have allowed a silent disarmament. Wow! But disarmament? Okay, NATO is a military alliance, is it? Military means armament, right? And it enlarged its membership, correct? Correct. So what are you talking about? It's less armament. It's not less, it's more armament because the little group of weasels got bigger and moved towards Russia. So Russia, using the same logic, I enter Ukraine, that means I'm going to go further. Who entered first? In Europe and moved towards east, towards Russia. So the same thing, if I am to say the Russians come towards us and they take territories, these guys do the same thing before them at a much, much bigger scale. And they're not over there. NATO is not over there to defend Europe. It's to, how do you call it, settle scores for other interests, economic banking interests. Banking and then businesses. I put banking in a different kind of business, okay? Usury and they help you. They help you. Can you imagine that? The thing was like this before, if you remember, when at the beginning, if I had 3 coins, golden coins, I could lend you 3 golden coins. But I say, with whatever you're going to give me, 4 golden coins. I gave you 3, you're going to give me 4. In, I don't know, we agree with 3 months, 5 months, 1 year, whatever. But you're going to give me more. But I had the 3 fucking coins in my hand, in my nail. Okay? Now they don't have it. They don't have the coins. They have numbers. So the banks have numbers right now. Where's their gold? Their gold cannot cover for shit. They can't cover for anything. So now they lend you something and they're in charge of you. So this is the system. And they are doing very well. And somehow all the countries are owing the banks, are caught by the balls. Without the banks, without those numbers, we can't survive. It is like the rib is more important than the rest of the organism. Remember the Bible? You can take a rib and fuck it up. The rib will die immediately. You will not die, the organism. That's the rib. The rib is not even a rib, a bank in a system. Look at all the businesses. Oh, banks are going to get some investments. We're going to get from bank investments. They're going to give us some money, some loans. Really? And who's in charge? The banks. How do they give you that? Money, numbers. This is a house of cards. But it's organized and conducted and, controlled by a few. That you don't know who they are. I don't know who they are. I know they are over there. But I can say, well, is big child, or is, red child, or is blue child. You know what I mean, right? Okay. So I can't say those guys over there. They are over there somewhere, but, they walk around us, lord this and lord that. But that's one of the, not backed by anything. And again, this guy creates, existential threat. No, you are actually an existential threat to our families, if you are in Europe, for our children, for our future, through your garbage policies and sanctions against Russia, which you didn't have to do it, but you did it. Why? Because your boss told you so. Who's your boss? Al Capone. And who is Al Capone's boss? Boss? The same interest that I was talking about, which I limit to 3. The banking, international banking system. 2nd, big business. And 3, military-industrial complex, which is a combination between the guys with guns, okay, and the companies who are big business, who are owned also by the banking system. All right, my friends, here it is. Yeah, I agree. Russia, the war in Ukraine poses an existential threat for the European Union for different reasons. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.